Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics pre-lockout chat ahead of round 8. For those listening back to the podcast or the video replay, it is Friday, the 2nd of May, and we are just over an hour and a half, well, just under an hour and a half away from the next game of round 8 getting underway. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And for those listening live or tuning in live, if you've got any questions you'd like asked or players discussed, we'll get to a heap of your questions once we get through a couple of things we normally cover, like captains and trade thoughts and everything like that before we get into it. But joining me is a special guest. He's been on the pre-lockout chats and a number of our shows throughout the preseason into the season. He's back in Australia after visiting the family over in the UK. It is Tom Hales, coach of Pom United and 2024 runner-up. Tom, mate, how are you?
Hi, Bales. Yeah, I'm good. Good. Glad to be back in Australia. Glad to watch some games of footy, not at 4 o'clock in the morning, and glad to chat some fantasy.
Yes, exactly, mate. So obviously we had a game, obviously already in the books last night, and I think for a lot of people, if you were a Cherry and Sheasel owner, you would be pretty happy with the way that your round started. Obviously, Sheasel with the 134 and Cherry with the 121. Also, Zach Merritt with a 117. Had a really nice score. Caleb Daniel got there in the end, had a pretty quiet first half, got there in the second half, but he's someone I think a few people might be considering trading out within the next coming weeks with an early buy. And Riley Hardiman is someone to be putting on your watch list as a potential downgrade option. So he scored 73 last night. So he could be someone that you might look at targeting next week with a decent role, but does have that round 12 bye. Who'd you have last night, Tom? I know you already had Sheasel in your team, so you're pretty happy with him. But anyone else besides him?
Yeah, I had the Shees, brought him in 3 weeks ago now. Been very middling and nice to see a pop score in the halfback role. And I actually thought he played really well. Like, it was good defensively as well as offensively.
Took a great mark. Going back with the flight, if you saw that.
Some great tackles and defensive plays in the first half, especially, which is good for that role going forward. I actually thought North were all right. Unlucky not to get over them at the end. I had Cherry with the VC on, which was nice. Nice to lock that in on a Thursday night. Get that 121 doubled. Don't have to worry about that for the rest of the week. I also will get Zach Reid on the field. Had the E on him, so that'll jump on field nicely. Thank you, Connor Stone. You will be my captain and defensive red dot. So otherwise, I couldn't have accessed it. So I'd have had to choose last night whether to go to Reed or Trainer. But I had the double look, and then obviously Daniel. So I'm off to a decent start this week. Let's hope my team doesn't do what it's done for the previous 7 and start nicely, or start poorly and finish nicely. Let's see if we can put a whole round together.
Yes. Now, someone actually mentioned on the watch along last night as well. And if anyone hasn't tuned into any watch alongs yet, I try and do them every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night if I'm free. And I try and get at least 1 or 2 a week. If you're ever sort of just sitting at home and watching the footy and want to chat along with me in a live chat or anything, or just want to hear my raging at a player that I've either don't have in my team or a player that I've got that's scoring poorly, then tune in for a few hours and come tune the watch along. It's good fun. Get a good crowd in there if you want to come tune along to that. But someone in the watch along last night mentioned how a few weeks ago we did a Essendon watch along for someone, and I was like, every time Zach Reid got a +6, I was cheering. I was like, yes. Whereas last night I was hating it, because it's funny how you can have a player in your team and you absolutely love them. As soon as you trade them out, you're like, nah, don't want anything to do with you anymore. And Zach Reid last night, I was like, nah, didn't want him to do anything. But he scored well. That's now back-to-back scores. If I'd known Sam Wicks was out half an hour earlier last week, I would have held Zach Reid and traded Marais instead, which meant I would have got a good score last night. But unfortunately not to be. That's the way my season's gone. Just a little bit unlucky, unfortunately, with a couple of things. But we press on. I brought in Sheasel last night, so I was really happy with that. I followed my gut, and I was like, I want to go him. I just had a feeling he's going to go big last night, and he did. So I went Tom Stewart. So Tom Stewart was good for something this year. He's gone out of my side. I don't know, no matter how cheap he gets, I don't know if I can bring him in. I'm that scarred from the first 7 weeks of the season. I don't know if I can trade into it, but who knows if he becomes an option. He might be past it with these few injuries. Who knows? But something very interesting. And yes, I also had the Cherry VC as well. I was honestly strongly considering Sheasel. I thought 5-day break for Cherry, But then I thought he's going up against Goldie. Like I've got to go Cherry, don't I? And that handball that he got added as a late addition to get that 121 meant the world. 119 compared to 121 looks like so much better. So yeah, I've locked that in. I've got Boyd on the field at the moment to take that, but I've got Hasty there as well, who is guaranteed out to potentially use instead, or a Connor Stone in the forward line, which I might even do there as well. So yes, that is what we're looking like. But yeah, so did you say what your trades were? I don't know if you said that yet, or no. So what were your trades this week? Obviously, I told people. So my other trade, I went. Sorry, I was just going to say my other trade was Marais down to. I've got Matt Carroll at the moment. I'm going for him and then go Boxall next week, just in case. So if I want to jump on a rookie, I don't have anyone to jump on. I'll jump on him next week. But sorry, Tom, what were your trades this week?
Yeah, so I'm 95% locked on my trades this week. There's maybe some bits and bobs I might change, but the main trade is doing Oliver to Wanganeen Miller tonight. I just want that extra defensive premium in my side. I'm currently running 2 rookies. Given Reece just put up a 90, but I want to get one of those rookies off the field. So going forward, so I'm getting that defender early. So it does mean I'm playing Max Holmes in the midfield this week, but
that's fine.
What it is. It's absolutely fine. I think Bice is the best rookie, so the fact he's a defender who's a midfield, there'll be no issues.
I don't know about you. I don't even count Bice as a rookie, to be honest. He's just scoring
I'm
like
a little bit
mid-pricer.
worried for his place. My only worry is for his place in the side. If he plays, he's going to be amazing. He's a bit of a Riley Bonner style for me. He's a very good fantasy player and he's got a really good kick. But how good is he defensively? I'm not so sure. I've seen a few mistakes last week in the second half.
Yeah, that was probably the first game I saw a couple of mistakes. But I think he's entrenched in that 22 for the time being. Yeah. Obviously, it's a easy watch though, just in case, because we know Sydney is struggling. They might just make some changes there. So, like a watch on
this week. So we're all happy.
Yeah, exactly.
My other trade is Sanders down to Peatling. I need to create some cash.
Don't mind it. Crouch out for 4 to 6 weeks. Draper's also been dropped, which was a little bit of a surprise to me. I thought Crouch out would have been the ticket for Draper, and I was actually keeping an eye on him as a downgrade option within the next couple of weeks after with a high break even. But he's not someone. I looked at Peatling early in the week. With Berry coming in, I was a little bit worried, but with Draper out, I guess it sort of balances that out a little bit. So
the other thing that could be is a Davidson to Cleary. That's the other one where I could decide keep Sanders this week, or it's that one of those 2 trades will happen to get that upgrade.
Yes.
The only thing I could get after this talk, I could get Dacos instead of Wang. That could happen. That means keeping Sanders.
You'll probably sleep better at night with Dacos, but it depends what your team value is looking like and everything like that.
So decent, but
what is it at the moment? 22.5
for me. It's not amazing, but it's pretty
not too bad. Yeah, you probably could take the punt on Dacos and sleep easier, but obviously, does that affect you moving forward, like next week and the week after? Because people are going like, because I heard people say like Oliver out is the ticket for a lot of people to get Dacos, which I agree. It's sort of makes sense to go Dacos, but obviously you just have to factor in. Do you need the cash next week? Do you go someone a bit cheaper? Do you need the 80K, 100K, whatever it is, whatever premium you're getting? Like Petrarca, for example, people are going, I got a question on the Patreon this week. Someone said, do I go Petrarca or part for Dacos? And I thought, well, if that 170K saved from Dacos Petrarca gets you the upgrade you want next week, I'd go Petrarca. But if you have got no issue with cash next week, you know what you're doing, or you're sort of planning what you're going to do, then go get Dacos.
Yeah, I haven't decided yet. The more I think about it, the more it's just like, why am I taking a speculative punt on Peatling when I can just get a Caden Cleary and get Dacos, and we roll from there. Like that.
See, I would probably go, because your team has about 400K odd better than mine. I'd probably go get Dacos in that position if I had more cash. But in the position that I would be in, I went Shizu instead, saved a little bit of money. But I'd be looking to save cash for my own team. But for other people out there, I think getting Dacos, not having to worry about bringing him in anymore. And because if you got Shizu and Dacos, you're pretty much fine. You don't really need to pay up for the high upgrades for the time being. You can go get your value guys. But yeah, I like both options. I think the Siren Peatling could also go quite well.
Yeah. And just looking at it, he's not got many tags in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
I think he'll get attention tomorrow night by either Atkins or an Ocean Mullen or an O'Connor. One of those three will go to him. I wouldn't be shocked if a Mullen went to him because he's got the speed.
Yeah. Freo is getting none. Adelaide is not getting any.
No.
North didn't tag Merritt last night.
They used Phillips last year on Dacos, but Phillips couldn't. I don't think anyone from North Melbourne will be able to go with Dacos, personally.
Then it's Hawthorn, so he might get the Finn.
And then it might be a Viney.
Yeah, Viney's not going to stick with Dacos.
Yeah. If they had Neil Bullen still, Neil Bullen would be able to do it. Actually, I wonder if the Crows do something with Neil Bullen, because that worked last time. So with Melbourne, so I wonder if that's something that happens. But Crows haven't tagged before, so I don't. And Andrew Griffiths just saying there's where you can't tag Dacos, and that point I do agree. I think you can't tag Dacos. He'll still get his 25, 30 touches. He's just made the marks and tackles. Yeah, yes, exactly.
Like, he can get 32 handballs. That's not going to hurt.
It was Sarong last week. Sarong last week, 32 touches, but scored a 75. Dacos is better than that. I don't think Dacos is going to have 30 touches and score a 70. He might go mid-80s or a 90s, but still a good option.
He's tackling. That's the thing get that hurting.
It boosts that floor
with a non-earner. Like, the last few weeks, he started tackling. Like, 3 weeks ago, 9 tackles, 3 tackles, 7 tackles. That's when Dacos goes his big scores. He gets these tackle numbers. And no, he's not a massive tackler, but he knows how to fantasy tackle very, very well.
He gets
an arm across someone. Put an arm across someone. It does. Yeah, but you can hate it as a footy fan, but as a fantasy fan, they're amazing.
Yes, exactly. Cool. We'll go through our the captains for round 8. So my top 10, I'll quickly whiz through these, but if you want a more a deep sort of dive on the top 10 and the guys just outside or ones I'm not keen on, then check out the video that dropped yesterday, the round 8 captains video. You can't miss it. It's the top video that should be there. So if you want to check that out, it's about 15 minutes, but I go through all the options in depth. But my top 10 captain options for round 8, I've got Max Gawn at number 1 against West Coast. West Coast are a very good matchup for Rucks, as we know. But Gawn's history against them isn't great. He hasn't turned up in his last 4 against them, that from what I could see there, and some poor ones there. But I do expect him to go big. He's in some good form with 3 really good scores in a row. Had the big X, Tristan Cherry, as the number 2 option last night. Had the VC on him, and I also believe Tom had the VC, so we're both locking that 121 in. Harry Shees was my number 3 option. I wish I had them switched and had Sheasel number 2, but Sheasel was great, 134. Obviously, you're definitely locking that one in as well. I got Bailey Smith at number 4. I don't think anyone from Collingwood can really go with him, and I think that the MCG, he had a good game last week against Carlton, who not a great matchup, but he still scored well. I'm backing the form in, I'm backing the way he's playing, and if they're going to tag someone, I believe it would be a Max Holmes. So Bailey Smith number 4. I got John Dawson at number 5. Back at home against Carlton this week, I expect him to go well. He normally scores quite well at home. Scored a 60 against Carlton last year, but that was during a weird patch of where Jordan Dawson had some really bad games and sort of just not like him. Crows were struggling, even though they won that game against Carlton last year, but had a pretty good history against them before that with a couple of big scores. So I like him back at home against Carlton in a must-win game for the Crows. Nick Dacos at number 6 against Geelong tomorrow night. Had not a great game against them last year, 85 points with 30-odd touches, but I'm pretty sure, I think Calvin made the point as well last night on their fire alarm edition of the podcast. I felt bad for the traders having to try and do the pod while that siren was going on, but kudos to them for pushing through anyway. But Dick Dacos, Calvin made the point that he got a corky in that game last year against Geelong. Zach Merida had it number 7, so 117. I'm still taking that as a VC. I'm not taking any chances. I'm locking it in. Anything over 110 I normally take, but anything over 115 I think you got to take there. Andrew Brayshaw, number 8. He's down the list slightly. Just I'm worried about a potential tag from Windy, but a great VC option tonight. Because if I wasn't worried about the tag, he would be in my top 5. John, you can probably stiff not to be in the top 5 with the Richmond matchup. He's at number 9, but I just think he's the sort of player that doesn't normally cash in on some of these easy matchups. So he's down the list slightly. And I snuck Ryan Marshall in at number 10 over Josh Dunkley. Marshall has got the Freo matchup. I think he can go quite well there, and he's got the ceiling. Dunkley, very, very unlucky to be left out with his recent history against Gold Coast, but Gold Coast are a lot better team than what they have been in the past. Q Clash, it's normally been a high-scoring game, but I think with the way these two teams are going, I could actually see this being a low-scoring fantasy game, even though a lot of people think it might be high-scoring. So I could see Dunkley getting a 95 to 105 here, but we know he's got the ceiling, so he's still a good captain option to come in the last game. And then Zorko, Petrarca, probably the unlucky guys also to miss with their matchups there. So as we don't need to go about who our captains are, because we're both locking in Tristan Sherry. So very, very happy with that one. Alrighty, well, let's get stuck into your questions. So if you are watching live, feel free to send any questions you have through, and we'll get to answering those now. And if you do want a guaranteed answer on any of your questions, either throughout the week or on the weekend or anything like that, then head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. You get guaranteed answers there, exclusive Patreon Q&As. You get free team reviews each week, extra bonus content in there. And you get direct access to me with guaranteed answers, just because there's so many messages on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and everything. I can't guarantee an answer for everyone, but if you are a Patreon member, I can guarantee you get an answer back. And if you'd like to help support us a little bit as well, but also getting some bonus content, then head to the link in the description and become a Patreon member of the Fanatics today. Alrighty, Fast Break Frenzy just saying, good evening, legends. G'day, mate. Hope you're going well. Josh says, best trade in for Oliver and Stewart. So he's going, option 1 is Chad Warner and Trent Rivers. Option 2, Josh Dacos and Phillipou. Or option 3, Josh Dacos and James Peatling. So I'd say I'd be ruling out number 2 because there's rumours that Phillipou might not play tonight. We'll obviously get subs in that in about, I think, roughly 15 minutes or so. So as I said, make sure you're following at AFL subs. Jordox and Eloise doing good work there, and they pop out the subs and any late changes straight away. And turn notifications on, so you don't even have to open up. I don't even have to open up an app. I've just got it. It'll ping on my phone very, very soon. So what option would you go there, Tom? I'm thinking 1 or 3. What do you reckon?
For me, it's 3. I've had a look at Rivers. Melbourne have had a silly amount of marks in the last couple of weeks in some pretty tasty matchups. I know they've got another one this week, but we're not just talking about 1 week. Maybe with Oliver out, Rivers moves into the midfield, which might be good. But I think I prefer Dacos as an in, so I think I'd go for the third one.
Yes, I would agree. Because Rivers got a tough matchup after. They've got so many guys back there. Bowie, Salem, May, obviously Rivers himself. So many guys. Windsor as well, McVee. There's a lot of guys back there that can take it on any given week. And Chad Warner probably gets a tag this week. I like Chad Warner after this week. And I've even considered that if a Phillipou and a Boxall both smashed it tonight, if Phillipou got named, I could even go Oliver to Chad Warner and not worry about the Matt Carroll. So I'm not afraid to jump in this week because you're getting him for the long term, but I'd prefer to wait. Whereas Dacos and Peatling, I think could be pretty solid. Yeah, I don't mind that one. Brad McLeod. Hey, fellas, Oliver and Marias to Petrarca and Boxall, leaving enough to go trainer to Sheasel next week, or Oliver and Levi Ashcroft to Petrarca and Long and risk missing Shees until his bye.
I think I'd go the second one. I think I'd risk, like, Cheadle does have the first bye. I spoke about this on Hat Chat Live on Wednesday. We don't want loads and loads of round 12 bye players. Like, we have a Rosie who we don't want to trade. I've got Cherry and TDK and Daniel. Sheasel.
Chera, maybe.
Chera. JHF.
TDK, Caleb Daniel. There's a few.
So there's quite a few. So if you don't get Sheasel, as much as I think is going to be great, I'm not just trying to gatekeep him as a Sheasel owner. That's not what I'm trying to do to you here. I think that Long and Petrarca are great ins this week.
And I think Long's important, I think, for a lot of people, because if people and a lot of people are in a similar boat to what I'm in. Not everyone's like DT Lemon and Geordie DeSena and obviously all those guys that have got like the 22.8, 22.9, $23 million team value teams where they can they've got a bit more flexibility. A lot of people are in that 22 million to 22.5, and they're probably trying to find ways to get cash. And with the lack of rookies, I think Ned Long is a great sort of stopgap to get some points on field, but also make some cash, get hopefully to mid 700s, 800K, and then be a small upgrade to a fallen premium sort of around that. But he's got the round 14 bye. You'll have your Carlton, Bulldogs, Port Adelaide, and North Melbourne players all coming off the round 12 bye, and then also your Freo and St Kilda players that you can upgrade Long to in round 14 in the bye. So I think he's a great in. And you can always make, if you want to get Sheasel in, you can always make it a 2-week process where you don't get him next week because he's got Brisbane down at, in Hobart at Ninja Stadium. Then you get him the week after against Richmond. I could see maybe you do something like that, and maybe it's a bit of a 2-week sort of one. But if you can get him next week, I'd run the risk of getting, Track and Long and doing that one there. We've got a super... No, you go.
I think the trying to book in too many trades in advance, as we've shown this week with the Oliver out, the Cherry nearly out, given I probably would have held Cherry either way. Like,
carnage can happen. Week's a long time fantasy.
A week is a long time in fantasy. You might have 2-4, and I know this is worst case scenario, having 2 forced trades. When you can get 2 great ins now, who are both going to improve your side, like Long gets a rookie off, and Track is just with
top
West Coast this week could go really well. Definitely top 6 forward. I think you just get them now and worry about next week. You've still got rookies on the bench that you can combine. I shoot.
Yes, agreed. We've got a super chat from Tony Ford. Thank you, mate. If anyone wants to send a super chat through to get a guaranteed answer, then feel free, but not required, because hopefully we'll get to your question as well. Tony Ford saying Oliver to Dunkley or Petrarca, or hold Oliver and trade Davidson to Petrarca with Boxer as my only cover for Oliver. If I get Dunks, I'll have 220K spare. I feel like if you can still get Davidson and Petrarca, I'm still thinking you hold Oliver in the hopes he comes back next week. And if he doesn't, you just be trading Oliver next week anyway. So I don't mind getting, because Petrarca's a good upgrade, right? And I think that he's good. If Boxer's not the sub, obviously this is the option. But if Boxer is the sub, which I actually think he could be, maybe you go Oliver to one of those other two. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't, unless Boxall isn't the sub, I think it could be Garcia tonight, actually, if I was to gun to my
I don't know. I don't know.
Or whoever comes in for Philippou. Whoever comes in for Philippou. Zach Jones could come in for Philippou and be the sub. Then I might roll the dice on Box. My one worry about Box as a pick, and that's not just for Tony, it's for everybody, is next week when Philippou is playing.
And that's part of the reason why I'm happy to watch Boxall for the week, because I don't want to trade in a guy. Like, a lot of people have to bring him in, right? And people better team value, all that sort of stuff. Bring him in this week's fine, right? But I don't want to bring him in, him play okay, get a 60, but then get dropped next week when Philippou's back and maybe they get someone else back, and then it's like, well, I've got a guy that's 250K and a red dot. So I'm happy to wait. But in this case, but then again, if you're going Oliver to Petrarca and you're saying that you're only you're going Davidson to Petrarca, but you're only covers Boxall, is there a way to put Petrarca into the midfield and play a forward, Tony? That would be what I'd like. A Caden Cleary, for example, Sam Lawler type. I'd play them over Boxall, but depends if you've got that. You might not have that flexibility. So
or even a Luke Trainer if you've got a defender.
Yeah.
Ground.
So would you do, if Boxall's not the sub, would you do Davidson to Petrarca and hold Oliver? Because the risk with Oliver is that he might be out longer than a week.
Melbourne have come out, and John Ralph came out yesterday and said it's not a relapse. It's just he's not feeling great this week. And
they said they expect him to be back next week. They expect
which
him
which is fantastic. Fantastic by Melbourne for the
transparency,
transparency and making mental health talk normal, which is fantastic. I think it's an opportunity to get off Oliver.
So you would do Oliver to one of Dunkley or Petrarca?
I think so. And I think I'd go Petrarca.
I would, if you save cash, because then you can go Davidson to Sheasel, Tony, if you don't have Sheasel next week. Or you can go Dacos if you don't have Dacos, or Dawson, maybe.
Yeah, but I assume he's going Davidson to track in a 1-up, 1 down with another rookie.
Yeah.
So if he
Could you
does
maybe do you're saying maybe Tony could do like, because he's got 220k spare from going Oliver to Dunkley. He's saying maybe he could do like someone like a rookie, maybe up to a Ned Long if he doesn't have them, or a Peatling, and then
I think what he means, he'll do his rookie downgrade as well. I assume this is what he means.
Yes, yeah, because he's probably
I assume he's doing a rookie downgrade, like a Levi down or whatever, gets the money to do both trades.
Yeah, I was just wondering, maybe could Tony, instead of going getting Boxall, could he go get? Oh, hang on, he said Tony just said got Dacos, Shees, and Dawson already. Oh bloody hell, you're looking good there. Trainer to Boxall's my other trade. Okay, yeah, right, yeah.
I like. Yeah, so he needs the cash from somewhere else. Do you have Caden Cleary?
That would be, yeah.
If not, I do training to Cleary over Boxall this week.
Yes, yep, that's a good shout. Get Boxall next week.
I think Cleary makes 150k to 600k, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I think Boxall could make 150k. Obviously, he'll make it easier if he starts 3-4 games in a row. But if he's not sub the next 3 or 4 weeks, we've seen with a Hasty, with a Langford, with a Draper, your cash just goes nowhere if you start wearing vests.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Caden Cleary seems fairly safe. Obviously, we don't know if he can get the sub in the future.
But
he was good last week.
He's in the Papley role. He's playing well.
Yes, exactly. Fast break frenzy. Kane Corns, please bully my North Melbourne players every week. Yeah, Shees was good. And the point with that Shees thing, I don't know if you heard it, Tom, but on the radio, Shees actually made a point of saying like the coaches want me to get more uncontested ball. They want the ball in my hands, and like that's his role. It's a clear role shift. And the good thing for us fantasy coaches is North Melbourne actually looked better the last 2 weeks with Sheasel back there. They've been in the game against Port Adelaide, and they could have won the game against Essendon last night. So it's a good thing for Sheasel moving forward that this role could stay. North got so many midfielders. They did this with Wardlaw out, but Wardlaw will come back. They've got LDU, they've got Simpkin, they've got Parker, they've got Wardlaw, they've got Powell. There's so many midfielders. Sheasel doesn't have to play that role. Like McKercher and Finn O'Sullivan are guys that they want to get into the midfield in their future, and then obviously Sheasel. But there's so many guys there that I think just keep Sheasel back in defence.
And this is a fantasy. I don't see what the absolute obsession is with your best players have to play midfield. If you're a game-breaking, like Lockie Whitfield, drives that GWS side, is a half-back. He gets
Look, Connor Rosey. Look at this. Look how good he's played.
Before. Like
I saw that game against Hawthorn. That first game against Hawthorn, they went into defence. He took it like a duck to water. Like he was fantastic back in defence.
Like you don't have to play. Your best players don't have to play midfield, especially when you've got good midfielders and average halfbacks.
Yeah, exactly. Angus McGregor has got this question. Lads, I currently already hold long, looking to trade Oliver to Petrarca, but need your help on the other side. So option 1 is going Sanders or Rivers plus 2K. Or Sanders. The question wasn't finished.
That'd be Sanders to Rivers, I assume. I assume that's Sanders to Rivers, and he's got 2K in the bank. Or
maybe.
Sanders.
Because it cut out. So the question. So Angus, put that question back in again, and we can see if we can answer it for you. Oh, here we go. Hang on, he's got it here. So Sanders and Rivers plus 2K scored a count. Sanders to Huswaite with 236K in the bank, or Trainer to Carroll and 176K score won't count. Already have Long and other trades Oliver to Petrarca thought. So yeah, so you're going Sanders to Rivers, Sanders to Huswaite with a lot of money in the bank, or Trainer to Carroll, and I'm assuming that he's playing someone else on field.
Yeah, I assume that's like a Levi or a Dave on field.
Yeah, I'd probably go the last one then if that's the case.
Yeah,
I don't know. The only thing with Huswaite that is good for him moving forward is that apparently Cam McKenzie's out moving for maybe a couple of weeks, but I still don't know if I'd do that. I still think Train to Carroll, maybe you go a different rookie, like someone that's maybe got less money on their head, but go to Carroll to get some cash gen. That would be what I'd probably look at doing. I think Trainer can still make some cash in a few weeks when that 2 runs out of his price cycle. Like if he can pop another couple of... He's got Hawthorn this week, but it's at the G. He went a 70-odd against Brisbane at the G. Then he goes West Coast, North Melbourne. I think Trainer could actually have a good couple of weeks. So I'm actually looking to hold.
We do need to see what Trainer's like with Bolter.
Yes, agreed.
Given Bolter's come in for Campbell Gray today. So is Bolter playing forward, which would be great for the trade.
Yeah. I wonder if Angus could go like Sanders to Chad Warner if he can get up there. I'd probably be fine with that.
If it's 2K to Rivers, he definitely can't get.
Yeah, yes, of course, yeah. I wouldn't mind Sanders to Dylan Moore if that was the best you could get.
It's honestly like it depends whether are you done with Sanders, and I'm in the same boat with my side. I want to do Oliver up, and I can get the cash from Sanders or a rookie. So I've got to decide whether I think Sanders Port at Mars this week. Funny things happen at Mars.
Yes, yep. Exactly.
I've got to decide whether I think Sanders. Do I believe the 130 from the week before, or do I believe the 50? What's more representative of his next 2, 3, 4 weeks? And I don't know the answer to that. So, Bale, I'm going to throw this back to you. Do you think Sanders is the go? You get rid of Sanders and get someone else who can score better than him? Or do you think just get the money from the rookie, regen a capped rookie to a one going up in price?
I think if you didn't have Ned Long, Sanders to Ned Long is the play. But I feel like if you can't trade Sanders up to someone that you want, going and getting like a Caden Cleary if you don't have him, get that cash gen going. And then next week you can trade Sanders out and trade Sanders up to someone. Like it could be someone in the mids or whatever. Like because I'm sure if you go Cleary, you maybe chuck Sanders into the mids for a week. You might cop a 60 or 70, but your rookie's going to do that anyway. And then you can upgrade Sanders next week to a Sheasel. Like if you don't have a Sheasel, you can get him in the mids. You can go get Noah Anderson, who I like from next week onwards. There's a heap of options next week. So I feel like if you can do like a bit of a switch, like keep Sanders for a week, he's not a must trade, but obviously with Treloar back, it's not looking great. But
yeah. Oh, of course, I've got Treloar's back.
So that's the other thing to keep in mind there with him.
Now my thought process of why I was trading not to Dacos and getting rid of Sanders is coming back to my brain.
Exactly. I definitely
very tired, a very tired brain. I've just got back in the country a couple of days ago, and now I'm remembering why I didn't just get Dacos before.
Yeah. Polly 29 says Oliver and Stewart to Huswaite and Ash. Thoughts? I don't know. I think you're getting in two players that I'm not really comfortable with. Like I've been pretty big on the Ash thing that I've said that he's going to be good. I wouldn't be trading into him now. You've missed all the cash gen. You've missed the scores. Giants are going to. I think Giants. Holmes, you made the point on Monday, the pod, or Tuesday when the pod came out. Mitch obviously talked about it on their pod, and I said it as well. I'm not as keen on Ash moving forward. Just Giants are going to change the way they play. Can Whitfield and Ash then continue to go 100 plus? I'm not sure. I think people that are up high as well started Ash. So you might as well go for the next guy that's going to make some more cash. That's just me personally. I think I'd rather go for a Josh Dacos who's 70K, 60K cheaper than him. He might not be as good, but you save 60K. Maybe go, I would say John Noble or Bowie, but they're probably the same boat as an Ash. Maybe you've missed out on the cash gen. But and if you don't have Ned Long, I'd go like Josh Dacos and Ned Long instead of Huswaite and Ash. I don't know what you think, Tom.
Well, let's have a Husworth chat because
Cam McKenzie out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've just chatted to. I was chatting to Vam's shout out 9th going into this week. Hang
on. Apparently, Travalia is warming up with the Philippou late out. Apparently, so Travalia might.
Is Philippou late out? Oh, it comes out 3 minutes. We'll find out in 3 minutes.
It's pending the Philippou later. But if the thing is, if Travalia is warming up, that would indicate they don't normally have emergencies warming up this early.
We'll find out in 2 minutes. We'll get the sub and the late out.
Great. Yes, you're talking Vams.
Yeah, about Husworth because he's debating him. I just think I don't see him as a natural fantasy scorer. I see him getting a lot of ball. But last week he had like 21 touches and no marks and no tackles for a 60. Like, he gets the ball, but he doesn't seem to hit stat lines. And it's priced at 540, I think, off the top of my head, with a very, very short shelf life. Like I say, Ned Long is someone who's stacking stat lines,
he's in the team.
Stat line. And also, he's in their best 22 now.
Yeah, Nash will be back in. Nash will be back not next week, the following week.
Or 2 weeks away.
McKenzie
saying Sam McKenzie a couple of weeks. So it's a couple of weeks play, and I'm not as keen.
Yeah, I'm not looking for it.
If you can do something, I'm not as keen with Hustwaite. I see why you're looking there. I'm bringing him in Supercoach, but I care about fantasy more. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
The
John Nichols is debating the same question that I am. He said, would you bring in Matt Carroll or go for a Bustlinger and pocket the cash? So obviously with Bustlinger, the thing to note for people there is the fact that Liam Jones is out with a calf injury moving forward. So they say it could be up to a month. So that's obviously very good for Bustlinger's job security moving forward. I see people probably aren't as keen on Matt Carroll. Obviously, he hasn't set the world. If he's gone 3 scores over 50, the reason I'm looking at bringing him in this week is that I've already got Bustlinger, and then it gives me Boxall next week as a downgrade, and I can continue getting a rookie. I think the fact that you've got Bustlinger available, would you just go Bustlinger because of the Liam Jones injury? He's 120k cheaper, and then you've still got Boxall then next week for John, like as a downgrade. Would you go Bustlinger, or do you think Carroll is still a play to make it? He's breaking still 3, right? If he goes, he's got St Kilda next week as well. So if he's in the team still, I could see making 100k in the next couple of weeks.
So my thoughts are, obviously I didn't watch the Bulldogs game last week, so I don't know. I know he had a very good first quarter bustling and he got 25 points from a fantasy point of view, and then struggled for the rest of the game. I know he had a very decent VFL record with regards to he's a decent kick. He likes getting the ball in his hands as well. I think you just go the cheaper one.
Actually, John says he's already got Boxall and Smiley. For me personally, in this case, then, is I would go Carroll this week and get Bustlinger next week. That's what I'll be doing.
Yeah, as you know, alluded to, Travalia in for Philippou.
And Travalia
is the sub.
So Boxall is not the sub. So good for everyone that owns Boxall and bringing him in this week. I'm still obviously going for Carroll to give me the downgrade for next week. But I'm almost cheering on Boxall tonight because I want him to do well, because I want to bring him in next week. Gives me the obvious downgrade option to get in. So yeah, hopefully he gets it done. And I know a few cheeky people might even play him on field tonight with a few outs, or might be able to loop. So yeah, someone to keep in mind for sure. We'll be live for about just over 10 minutes or so. So we'll do a bit of rapid fire just because I'll be heading off to go watch DT11 play some music while also watch the game tonight. So it should be some good fun. So we'll do some rapid fire. A lot of questions coming through. So if you want to chuck your questions back in, chuck them back at the end of at the bottom of the chat so we can answer those for you. And yeah, we'll get through them. Max Hardcastle, thoughts on Morrison Lawler to Ned Long and Hugh Boxall? Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Tick. You'd bank some cash as well.
Bank some cash. Go forward.
I did similar trades last week, getting Long and a rookie in to bank some cash. So, yep, tick for me. Hutch, mate. Berg and Oliver to Zorko and Peatling. Where'd it go? Berg and Oliver to Zorko and Peatling, or Petrarca and Rivers, or Josh Dacos and Chad Warner.
Oh, hello. Now you're shopping in some areas.
That's a good one.
I quite like, and I'm very biased because he was part of the reason I did so well last year. Get me some Zork.
Like Zorko and Peatling, or I think Zorko and Peatling, or Dacos and Warner.
Yes, it's 1 or 3 for me.
You're going to get more points from option 1, I think, for the short term anyway. Whereas Dacos, obviously, I want to see another week from Josh Dacos. Just he's had 1 ton. I want to see if he can back it up. And Chad Warner gets the tag. I'm option 1 as well, I reckon. I think I'm going Zorko and Peatling.
Like, it depends on your risk appetite, because Zorko has had a really average start to the year.
And then you got Kenny Coleman coming back. That's the other thing.
We're assuming a better role for Peatling. And I'm thinking about bringing him in too, as I said at the start of the show. Like, we're assuming that he gets it, and it's not just a Sam Berry, Matt Crouch swap. Because if it is and he still plays his high half forward, then he's a 70s guy, which doesn't really cut it as a trade in. So it depends on your risk appetite, I would say.
Yeah, I think Josh Dacos and Warner's the safer play, I think. And then if you want to go the riskier one, you go one. So one of those two I like. Sneaker Dad 1978. Levi and Oliver to Petrarca and Long, or Warple and Mariah to Petrarca and Boxall. I'm the first one. If you've got Warple, you brought him in for these easy matchups. He's got Richmond. You can't trade him just yet. I don't think you got to go Levi and Oliver to Petrarca and Long. I think
you're playing if you're playing Warple, like you brought him in, like you can't trade him before Richmond.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
you can't trade anybody before Richmond.
Yeah, before they play Richmond. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like, I'd be on the first one.
Playing Richmond. Yeah, and if he fails against Richmond, then you
trade
him out, right? Like this is his time to shine against a team.
No McKenzie as well. Yeah,
he's going to be playing 80+% time on ground. Same with Newcombe. They're not going to be playing forward. They're both going to be in the guts. Like, I'm a Newcombe owner. You've just got to play him. Like, so option one. I like option one anyway. I think it's they're really good trades.
Yep, agreed. Steve, I actually haven't got a super chat from John Nichols, just saying thanks, legends. Thanks, John, mate. Very much appreciate the super chat. Just to say thank you. Very much appreciate it, mate. Steve-O says, thoughts on Oliver to Petrarca and Connor Stone to Caden Cleary? Yep, tick for me.
Fine.
Yep, that's fine.
Like that. Regen the cash. Beautiful.
Your boy Zenith, any good defender options this week? Already got Sheasel. So obviously Tom's looking at Nasai this week. I think he's a good option.
I think he goes
Zorko.
I honestly don't think you can. I wouldn't go Whitfield.
Yeah. I wouldn't go Sinclair either. I wouldn't go Sinclair. Just want to see. There's obviously rumours about him training with the mids and the forwards this week. Just want to see how that St Kilda team shakes out moving forward. And that was the other. That's the other flag. That's the other reason I'm probably not going Boxall personally for me tonight, because I got the cash for Carroll. Is if Philippo's not playing, he'll come back in next week. What does that do with Boxall? So that's another reason why I'm going for him. I arguably think. Well, I would say Bowen's a better trade in this week, but I don't know if he's going to score. So you probably got to go one of them, right? So I don't mind going. Obviously, Boxall's still a good option. But yeah, defenders. I think Nasai's probably the pick if you don't have him. If you've got him, Zorko. You probably don't have Zorko, Sheasel, and Nasai, so it's one of those three.
Yeah.
Who would you go, Nasai or Zorko?
I mean, I can do either. I'm going Nasai, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why.
I agree.
I just don't like watching. I think I just like watching Nasai a bit more.
Yeah, and people are worried about if he's in the midfield, he might get tagged. But the good thing is with these guys that play defence that can go in the midfield, if he's getting tagged, he'll just go back into defence, right? So, and he hasn't scored below 85 this year, I think.
He did the same last year as well, Nasai. He just
consistent.
Yeah, he doesn't really. And I say this off the back of a 130.
He doesn't go over 120 a lot.
He's kind of, he just chugs along with scores each week, which I kind of like, because my defender trades this year have been horrendous. So I've got one position in my defence which has been populated by Stewart, Farrell, and Holmes, and I think it averages about 68. So it's and that's a premium defender slot. So that's why my rank isn't great.
Henry V's got a question because I've also said there's a super chat from Shayan, but I just want to answer this question for Henry V first. So Shayan, we'll get to your super chat just in 2 seconds. He's saying emergency loot Boxall or Hull. If you can do both, because if you've got Oliver and you've got a Connor Stone, you should be able to loot Max Hall in the forward line and Boxall in the midfield. If you had to pick one, I'd probably take the punt on Boxall just because he's got the natural fantasy game. But if you can do both, that would be ideal. And then Tony Ford did say line for Boxall to take over Davidson. For me, it's probably 60.
It's 60 for a rookie.
Just because Davidson is playing at Ballarat.
Yeah. And what is the max you think Davo really scores? 80?
75 at Ballarat. Yeah, 75 at Ballarat. I don't love that, man.
Yeah.
And it's against Port as well.
You're playing for 15 points. Like, just
you bank
if he scores well, enjoy the bench. Enjoy the cash.
Yeah. Hopefully just go 70 plus for you and you don't have to worry about any sort of anything there. So yeah, Shayon's got the super chat. So thank you for sending the super chat through, mate. Oliver to Long and Marais to Rivers gives me no rookies in the midfield. Or do we get cute with Oliver to Long, then Levi to Manor, looping Murphy Reed as well? I don't know if I'd go Manor. He's been great. He's a good draft pick. If you're doing something like that, I'd rather Peatling or Dylan Moore, one of those two.
You can get, with those trades, you can get to Warner.
Can you?
You can get to Warner. You can get to, because that Oliver to Long is 300k. Levi up.
About 2
What's Long?
50. Long 660.
Yeah, and Oliver's
it's 928. So essentially, it's 270k. 270. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
you should be able to go Levi to Chad Warner. I'd rather do that.
Well, maybe could you get to track?
919. You need it. Oh yeah, you could, because Levi's essentially the same price. If you can go Oliver to Petrarca and then Levi to Long, but he might already have Petrarca. That's the thing.
Then I probably would go Chad Warner. I think he's just a better player.
Yeah, I don't like playing in the Rivers areas personally. Yep, I would do that. But Shane, appreciate your super chat, mate. Lockie Gillespie, can we play Garcia? If you can loop him, do it. But I don't know. You can, but I don't know if I'd play him on field straight up. You got subbed out. I don't know if he gets subbed out again. But...
He's got a point to prove tonight. I think you can just play.
Yeah.
Like, Freo aren't that hard. He can go and stand next to Sarong and get cuddles for days. Like, you're not trading him this week for a reason. Like, personally, I probably would trade him with Oliver. Is what I would do. But if you're not trading him, you're backing him in. You just put him on your field. I know it means nothing in the grand scheme of life. He's not going to know you put him on field, but you're not trading him, so you're backing him in. I think he's got more chance of a score than a Davidson at Ballarat.
Yes, agreed.
So
Marco asking Dylan Moore an option. He is an option for sure. Obviously, he's not as good as like your sort of Petrarcas and guys like that, but if you can't get up to anyone, I think he's a pretty safe 85 guy. Might not be that 90 guy and might not be a top 6, but he's almost a decent stopgap until the buys. I don't mind it. He's got Richmond this week. Could be a sugar hit
got a
at the
couple of good
MCG.
matchups in a row. So I think he sees more mid-time, or at least more time around the ball
this week,
the next couple of weeks. So
agreed.
I think it's good.
Exception's got a super chat. Thank you, mate. Saying Boxall or Cleary already have 3 red dots. I'm Cleary in this one. If you can get Cleary this week, you have then Boxall for a downgrade next week.
Or could you trade a red dot to a Boxall?
You could trade. It depends what he's doing with his trades. I still like getting Cleary though, because then you've got an option next week, Boxall. Because if Boxall fails this week and you've got him, then it's another potential red dot. I like if you've got a red dots building up, I'd get a guy that's a bit more guaranteed moving forward. And I think Cleary is that guy. Yeah. I think DC made the good point that people are looking at his price going, he's mid 400s. People are going, oh, he's made a lot of money. But if we think he's going to go at a 65, 70 average for the next few weeks, he'll get up to 600K within the next month, right? So he's going to still make another 140K. That's still good for a rookie, right? So, and then you get Boxall next week. You got to downgrade, because if you get Boxall, you're then relying on a Bo Allen to go well. And if he doesn't, who's your downgrade next week? You don't want to, I always think you got to continue that upgrade. I think a few people are sort of going Boxall because they've got Bustling and they've got a few of these guys, but we have seen in the past, you bring in these guys, play their first game, they might struggle, then they go back to VFL in a week, and then you're sort of stuck with a guy that's 240K. I've always been the opinion with a rookie, I like watching him for a week first and then jumping on, unless there's no other option, which for some coaches there might not be. But if you can afford your Cleary, I'd be going Cleary. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good.
We've got a couple more before we finish up. Andrew Griffiths, why the Garcia hate? He goes 80 plus tonight. I wouldn't be shocked if he did. I wouldn't be shocked.
For it. I'd be shocked too, but go for it.
Jack Main, can we play Cleary on field? Yes, you can. I've got him on field this week covering for Oliver. So, you agreeing with that?
I think I would play Davo and Levi before him.
I'd play Levi, maybe not Davo, but Levi, yes.
EWS, tough. It's not the easiest.
Could be some. He tackles though. Could be some tackles in there.
He does. Yeah. Yes, you can, but you can play him on field. Yes.
Yeah, agreed. But yes, there's a few other guys I'd like as well. Maybe you can loop a Boxall tonight, maybe, and that saves you from playing.
Maybe Max Hall tonight.
Oh, there you go. Belinda says field Davo or Cleary at F6. So you'd probably say Davo. I'm probably saying Cleary.
I think I'd just say you get on a hot wing at Ballarat, you can score a ton.
Just gets Port,
that cold wing is cold.
Yeah. Port and at Ballarat. And he's had that one.
Windy. Well, it's going to be windy, right? It's always windy at Ballarat.
Davo had his 2 good scores this year over 80, both at Marvel. And they were against St Kilda and Carlton can leak some points at times.
But wasn't it Carlton against Campo?
Mate. No, Campo was dropped that week.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'd go Cleary, but again, it's rookie roulette, right? Like you're probably going to make the wrong call. Well, I always say I'm going to make the wrong call anyway when it's rookie roulette.
74 in the rain last week.
Yeah, and who would have thought? And I traded him not with the wet weather, so it's just rookie roulette. So go with whoever you think, Belinda. Obviously, it just shows, right? I prefer Cleary. Tom prefers Davo. Sort of flip a coin. I reckon that's where I'd go. I think Roy's going Cleary as well, but then some other people are going Davo as well. So it's a tough one, but yeah. Sorry we couldn't help you there, Belinda. We're split, but yeah. What do we got? Any last couple here? Could Levi be subsets fast break frenzy? He could. I don't think he will be though with like a McLaughlin on the bench as well. I think that in a Q clash, I don't think they're going to put Levi sub, particularly when the medal is the Marcus Ashcroft medal for the Q clash. So I think he'll play, but it's a flag. It's still something I'm keeping in the back of my mind, like next week and moving forward. But yes, there is a chance at some point. Brisbane Bloods, thoughts on TDK to Marshall? So I don't have 2 round 12 bye players in my ruck line. What are your thoughts on moving a TDK this week to a Marshall?
I don't hate it. I think he'll go really. I don't hate it at all, actually. I think Marshall goes really well for the next few weeks.
Yeah.
As I said on Hat Chat, he's not marking yet. And that's my one worry with Marshall is he's not marking the ball. Whether that's a game style change or whether that's just him not quite being fit enough to spread into those spaces to take those uncontested marks. At the end of last year, he was taking marks for fun, and that's how he was building his big scores. So, and to be fair, there's smarter people than me who've done more work regarding game style have St Kilda changed their game style. And if they have, does that cap Marshall at a 105 or 100 rather than at the 115 guys been for the last 2 seasons? And if it is lower, I think that
because Nasai in the midfield, Nasai breaks lines and takes a few bounces, kicks in the side 50. Whereas when they had that slow midfield, they'd kick out to the wings, and Marshall would more often than not be in those pockets, getting into space. So it is a watch. I feel like it could be. It's sort of that. It's that 50-50 call, right? It's like, well, people have got Oliver and Stewart maybe, or some other bullets to deal with. So maybe doing TDK to Marshall gets you the week ahead of everyone. But at the same time, if TDK's if you look at the 3-week patch, he had a poor score against Collingwood, but he was going really well in the first half. He slowed down when it got wet, and Darcy Cameron got on top. The next week, he played West Coast in that really hot game at Gatherround. And then he had a poor score against Tristan Cherry, who we know is a tough ruck to score against.
He is the hardest ruck by far, is Cherry.
Well, then, top couple. I think Witts might be just harder, but yes, he's one of the top he might be like top 2. Yeah. So, and then he went well against Stanley. So it's like, could he still do well against O'Brien? Apparently, it's not wet tomorrow. Apparently, it's going to be 25 in Adelaide and sunny, which is fantastic. Love when I hear that on the radio. It's going to be good weather going the footy. So I probably wouldn't do it this week. I want to see, as you said, with the lack of marks, I want to see one more week from Marshall. But it could be that move that gets you the week ahead, but it could also be a move that maybe you've got to fix up. So, but if it fixes your buys, you might be able to hide behind and just say, fixes the buys, I can trade Marshall back to someone else in the buys. So, yeah, I don't mind it. We'll go final 2 questions here. So, Belinda says, thanks, legends. Thank you, Belinda. All good. Happy to help. And Shane said, why do we play this game? I ask myself that question every week, mate, but I ask myself that question Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but as soon as it gets to Thursday, I'm back to like, yep, we're ready to go. So last 2 questions here. We'll go Fast Break Frenzy and Lockie Russell. So Fast Break Frenzy, lads, help for draft. Current VC on Brayshaw. Do I go the captaincy if Brayshaw fails on Whitfield, Rosie, Ash, or Jason Horn-Francis?
What's a draft side? Rosie.
Agreed. I'm not Whitfield this week with the potential tag. And I wouldn't
What's
do
a
Ash.
draft side though?
Yeah, exactly. You're looking.
You've had a fly.
either it's like an 8-team draft, or you've done really
Even
really
an 8-team draft. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whitfield, Hornet, Rosie, Brayshaw.
Oh, I've got a draft which Sheasel, Bont, Butters, and Jai.
But Bont and Butters were injured.
Yeah, which is why I picked them up because I got them late.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I'd go captaincy on Rosie. But I think and hope Brayshaw gets it done. Final question from Lockie Russell. Should I do Davidson and Bergman to Noble and Long, or Bergman and Oliver to Dunkley and Noble? So you're essentially doing Bergman to Noble in both trades. So you're going Oliver to Dunkley or Davidson to Ned Long. I'm Davidson to Long, depending on who your cover is for Oliver. Because if Oliver's back next week, you get that. You get him back. And if not, you trade the Dunkley next week.
I think the question is this, back to, can't remember who said the question, but do you think Oliver will be back next week?
Well, the communication from Melbourne so far has been that they expect him back in the program and at training next week. So of course, there's a chance that he misses next week, right? But I feel like that you can still go and hold for it. You don't have to trade. And if he comes back next week freshened up, might be good for him. He might actually start getting those marks again, and he'll be a pod again because people have traded off of him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you agree with what Melbourne are saying, if you think he's going back next week, do the Devo to Long trade. If you think no, it might linger for 2-3 weeks.
Oh, Lockie Russell just said that he's got Lindsay as cover. Definitely
hold it.
Yeah, definitely hold Oliver. Use Lindsay as cover, and you go
Lindsay's
get Long, who's good.
80 plus against my rabble.
I wouldn't be shocked. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if West Coast won this week. I wouldn't be shocked. They beat Melbourne last year in this fixture over at Optus, and apparently West Coast have got the best round 8 record over the last 15 years. Yes, I know it doesn't matter because they're not as good now, but who knows? A few things might go their way.
We are the worst team in the AFL. We've already won pick 1, and it's fabulous.
Limits just said who makes more cash, Boxall or Allen? Boxall makes more cash, but Bo Allen's probably got better job security. But whether that's sub or 22, who knows? I'm going Boxall out of the 2 because he's not the sub.
I don't like Bo Allen. I don't see him scoring.
The fact that Boxall's not the sub now, I said if Boxall wasn't the sub, I'm going Boxall over Bo Allen, and that would be what I'd be doing there. Limits. And then Chris Hood says a Hewitt or Cleary F6. I'm Cleary there. You should be able to, if you've got Connor Stone, you can loop because Hewitt plays before Connor Stone. So, but I'll be going Cleary anyway. I think he's got the high ceiling.
I think I'd loop it, but I think Cleary, I just don't know what role Hewitt's going to play.
Yeah. Alrighty, that'll do us. We're pretty much just at the hour mark, and I've got to head off for some dinner. But thank you everyone that tuned in live as always. And if you didn't tune in live today, obviously next time make sure you do. We are live every Friday, 6 p.m. after the Ball Boys, Eastern Standard Time, and 4 p.m. Perth time. Obviously, we're live Sunday night after the final game of every round, or if it's a Monday public holiday, we're live then. And obviously our Tuesday night Q&As as well. If you'd like to tune in there as well. But make sure you guys smash like on the video. We got over well over 100 people watching, so make sure you do smash a like, and let's see if we can get 50, 100, 150 likes. Who knows? Try and smash a like on there. Helps us out a whole bunch if you just take the 2 seconds out of your day to click the like, and helps us out a whole bunch. But Tom, for those people that missed it earlier, your trades and then your VC and C for the week.
So my trades have actually changed during this. If you've seen me on my phone changing my trades. Currently, it's Oliver to Dacos and Davo down to Cleary.
I like it. I like those trades for sure. And then your VC and C, obviously you said, I think you locked
Cherry
in
last night, VC, locked in. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same. VC locked in with Cherry last night. And then also my trades as well were partly locked in last night. Went Stewart to Sheasel. Wipe my hands clean of Stewart now. That's done. I can move on. It sucks. I've lost near 200k and those poor scores, but sometimes that does happen. People had Tom Green and Connor Rozee last year and trade out. So, and Stewart's at a cheap price. If I want him back in, which I don't think I will, but who knows, I can trade him back in. He's at a cheap price. And then I've currently got Marais to Matt Carroll, and I'll get Boxall next week. But if Boxall smashed out of the park and Bo Allen smashed out of the park, I would then maybe, I was going to say look at Oliver to Chad Warner, but Bo Allen plays the same time. But I couldn't always edit it to Clayton Oliver to Chad Warner, but at the moment it is Matt Carroll. Beautiful. Thanks for jumping on, Tom, mate. Always appreciate chatting some fantasy with you and you jumping on here. Where can people find you across the socials, and any last closing thoughts?
You find me on X, Tom_Hales_. Final thoughts. Just enjoy the footy this weekend. Should be some good games. And I hope everyone goes well.
Yep, exactly. You can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. You can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans on Twitter as well. And same thoughts. Enjoy the footy. If you have a VC on a Cherry, Merritt, or a Sheasel, obviously you can sort of sit back and relax. You don't have to worry about captains, and hopefully your team smash out a good score. And for people waiting on a Brayshaw or a Dacos or a Gawn, hopefully those all smash out some good scores for you as well. And hopefully you guys have a good weekend. We'll be back after the final game, so a bit later this week. I think it'll actually be like 10:30 Eastern, which would be a late one, because after the Brisbane game, it might. I've got to think of when the time will be, but it'll be after the final sign of that game. I'll be reviewing the round as always, as we do after the final sign. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good night tonight. Have a good weekend. Good luck this week. And we'll chat to you guys on Sunday night for our round review. Thanks everyone. Catch you then. See ya.